Thank you. I've got my orange card filled out. My name is Sean Parnell. To my friends in the legislature, let's make a meaningful change together and let Alaskans benefit from resources that belong to them, not locked in the ground. Thank you. Just kidding, just kidding. I thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Governor Knowles, and thank you, speakers, Cordelia, Steve. I just appreciate so much the real Alaskan face that's being put to this forum and to this task at hand. You all are a terrific testament. You're a terrific testament to the spirit of our state and to the confidence that real Alaskans have in these efforts. As governor, I promised that we would unlock Alaska's resources for Alaskans' benefit. I set a vision for Alaska that we would once again produce 1 million barrels of oil. But some want us to lower our vision, limit our goals, reduce our expectations. One legislator said something that should mobilize every Alaskan listening. He said, there is no way that Alaska will ever again reach 1 million barrels a day. He said, it's not going to happen. Well, Alaskans don't live in a world of we can't. We live in a world of can do. That's you. We live in a land where billions of barrels of oil are yet to be recovered, and we live in a time where Alaskans can unlock this oil for our own benefit and for future generations. So even though oil production trends downward, there's another trend line, and it's trending upward. More Alaskans are stepping up, standing up, and speaking up for responsible taxes that will lead to more oil production. And many of you in this room took time away from your workday. You took time away from your dinner tables. And many of you flew to Juneau. You waited patiently in the LIOs around this state, waiting to testify about our future, to make your voice heard in committee hearings. And what was the response this year? One senator said, your voice doesn't matter because you work. Because you work for businesses, big and small, trucking businesses, flooring companies, engineering firms, rental and expediting outfits, fabrication plants. Well, when did it become okay to smear people for working in the private sector? When did it become okay to vilify Alaskans who promote jobs and families in our great state? This must not be. Well, let me tell you that I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you've demonstrated your commitment and that you demonstrate it every day in your workplaces. You demonstrate a commitment to growing our economy, to unleashing opportunity, and to enlivening and emboldening those dreams that Alaskans like you and I and our families share. To you who testified, let me assure you, your voice was heard and you matter. Kim Griffith testified before legislators and said, quote, I want my sons to have the opportunities I have had, my parents have had, and my grandparents have had, end quote. Well, Kim, Sandy, and I want those same opportunities for our daughters too. And every Alaskan wants that. That's what this epic struggle is about. That's what this epic struggle is about. It's about our future. Will we claim those vast untapped resources for Alaskans' benefit, for our use and our children's use, or will they remain locked in the ground as the extremists want? Karen Coward of Anchorage testified, Alaska's tax policy is leaving Alaska's oil in the ground. So I've got to ask, will we take control of our destiny as Alaskans, or will we act like the federal government and say, can't do, lock it up? Well, let me tell you, Alaskans are better than that. Momentum is building across our state. People realize that oil production is falling, That production decline will become Alaska's decline. People realize the urgency for change. They recognize that tax policy impacts business decisions. And people understand what's fair for the government to take and what hurts investment in our state. This rally is important for many reasons. Today we come together to take stock of how far we've come, and we renew our strength for the battle ahead. You are vital. You are vital to this effort, every one of you. Your efforts are strategic and forward-looking. You know that short-term sacrifice grows long-term opportunity. The year has flown by and the oil level in the pipeline keeps dropping. One might think we haven't made much progress on tax reform, but we have. You have a governor who believes in Alaskans and former governors. You have a governor who believes that we can do this together. You have a House of Representatives that acted in Alaska's interests by passing meaningful tax reform. And more senators today, compared to a year ago, are committed to doing what's right, to unlocking opportunity for Alaskans. So while we're at it, and I hope we have a few with us, let's acknowledge Alaska lawmakers among us. If you're an Alaska lawmaker currently, would you please stand and be recognized? Nobody who's going to stand up? Okay, they're working. This is good. Let's give them all a hand for their hard work. I've got cabinet members who have been deployed across this state who have taken up the message of let's make reform meaningful, let's make meaningful change. And Governor Knowles, it is good to see you again. I want to say thank you for your recent op-ed piece. I read it, I thought it was a welcome history lesson, and it will work to pull us together. You spoke of coming together over a fair share and growing our economy. And you caused us all to ask, and you caused me to ask, should government really take 72% of the profit at $115 per barrel? Should government really take 75% of the profit at $140 per barrel? I know what I would do if my paycheck looked like that from the federal government. This is about our fair share as Alaskans, and it's about growing our economy. So what does responsible tax legislation look like? It's legislation that unlocks Alaska's wealth for Alaskans. It pays Alaskans for that wealth, it sparks investment, and it drives production increases. Now, HB 110 met those standards, and I do appreciate Governor Knowles' admonition that it's not about bill numbers or anything, because really, it is about what kind of meaningful reform is contained in what bill. But indeed, the fair share government take under HB 110 is about 66%, or the 2/3 that you just spoke about. In exchange, companies put at least $14 billion in new projects on the table. Both Conoco, Phillips, and BP committed over $5 billion. Armstrong pledged another $9 billion in projects on currently undeveloped state land, all if the state makes meaningful changes in our tax regime. That's $14 billion in new investment in exchange for meaningful tax reform, minimum. Because you know that with a competitive tax environment, the laws of economics say that $14 billion will multiply with more new investment beyond that. And as business people, especially those of you with empty fabrication shops, you didn't need any studies to tell you what's happening. But the public needed more information to support a tax change. So the studies conducted by the Senate have been useful to verify for the public what you already knew. Today, nearly 60% of Alaskans say ACES needs to be modified. Of those, 89% believe tax reform must be significant and must be enacted this year. The urgency is there. Some senators thought when the studies were complete, they'd hear the consultants tell them Alaska should stick with the status quo. But to their dismay, the studies demonstrated the opposite, that Alaska is not competitive at today's high oil prices. I was just asked by a reporter before this, how come the change now? And I said, I started working for change on this in 2010 because ACES was built on a $60 to $80 a barrel price frame. It wasn't built for 110, 120, 130, 140 and above. This is new territory we're in. And senators have heard the truth that status quo has driven producers into extreme harvest mode with no new production. Still, in spite of what their consultants told them, the Senate Resources Committee, driven by just a few senators, not the whole committee, passed their own bill, SB 192, from their committee. The Senate Resources Committee version of tax change was a prime example of tweak a little bit and say we made a difference. You already know that I will not accept a tax reduction with no new production. Neither the Senate's experts nor industry believe that SB 192, as it is currently written, will incentivize new production. The bill has no financial pledges, no money on the table, no investment guarantee behind it. So where we are today in the legislature can be summed up this way. On the one hand, your governor and the House have agreed on a plan where $14 billion of new Alaska work is on the table in exchange for meaningful tax reform. And on the other hand, SB 192, the Senate bill, has zero Alaska investment guarantees, no Alaska work pledged for the minimal tax benefit given. That's with 18 days remaining in this 90-day session. But hope springs eternal with me, and I know with you. 18 days in the life of a senator or the Senate is a lifetime. A lot can change in that time. And I have pledged to work with those senators and representatives to find that sweet spot that Governor Knowles has spoken of. I've pledged to work with those who sincerely want to bring opportunity to Alaskans. The Senate Finance Committee now has SB 192, and we have Senator Stedman's pledge that what he will do to SB 192 in Senate Finance will be more meaningful than what came out of Senate Resources. After that, I'm confident the House will take action. Action for Alaskans and action for more Alaska production. There's an old saying in politics, and some attribute it to President Ronald Reagan, but I think it goes back farther. He said, if they feel the heat, they'll see the light. So I say, let's bring it. Talk to 5 people outside this room today. Get 5 more Alaskans involved. Fill out those cards like I did. And once again, contact your senators and representatives. If SB 192 is going to be the vehicle for this legislation, it's got to go back to the House. So it's important to keep your representatives informed that you support meaningful tax reform. It's not just about the Senate. We need to keep all the bodies supportive for this meaningful reform. The message is, say yes to meaningful reform. Say yes to bringing billions of dollars in new investment to our great state. Say yes to unlocking Alaska's resources for Alaska's benefit. That's how we'll put more oil in the pipeline. That's how we'll get us back on track. Thank you.